Hey everyone, it is time for an incredibly late Did I Meet My 2022 reading goals? We're only a little bit late, okay? Just a smidge. To be clear, this is not my reading wrap-up, this is just Did I Meet My Goals, specifically relating to the 12 set books. So for the past 5 or so years, I have been, at the beginning of the year, I will set myself 12 specific books across a range of genres to help get through my TBR and also to make sure I'm reading things that aren't necessarily in my normal range. So it's 12, so that's equivalent to a book a month, and then, yeah, at the end of the year, I do a little did I actually read them thing. So here we go, I guess. So we have The Book Thief. Not only did I read this, but I absolutely loved it. This was one of my favorite reads last year. This was a 5-star for me, which is 5-star reads are very, very uncommon for me. Most of the book was interesting and intriguing and both beautiful and sad, but the last 50 pages, devastating. Absolutely devastating. It was heartbreak after heartbreak, and I kept having to pause and walk away for a few minutes because I was crying through most of it. Like, it was a great book, but the final 50 pages reached their fingers directly into my soul and tore it to absolute shreds. Second one is an Agatha Christie. They Do It With Mirrors. This was a DNF for me. It largely followed a conversation structure, and a fair amount of it seemed to be prattling on with an in-depth history of the relationships of every character and all of their ties. It didn't seem to be going anywhere, and I was really struggling with it, so I stopped. We've got The Haters by Jessie Andrews. Yes, this was a 2-star read for me, which does not mean I didn't like it. It's good. It's a fair book. If you're into books with a different format and writing style and a somewhat ambiguous plot, this is probably your thing. I personally didn't find it interesting, but it definitely had its moments, and while I didn't find it particularly interesting, I did enjoy reading it to an extent. We have Awake, that is another Natasha Preston novel. 2 stars. It was pretty obvious who the bad guy was in this one. It was way too obvious. She always makes it obvious, but in this one, it's just, come on. Also, girl, you've known him for 5 minutes, you are not in love with him. We have Heidi. I went into this one knowing absolutely nothing about it, and I did read the first couple of pages, but as soon as I realized what the content was about, I stopped. I took it off my list and did not try to pursue it any further. I will go back and read this at some point, but the subject matter was a bit sensitive at the time that I was trying to read it. And that is Interview with a Vampire. This was another DNF for me. It was beautifully written. Like, it started off just beautifully written, but I was struggling to read it partly because of the font and the format, and simply not finding it interesting enough. It was taking me twice as long to read as it should have, and it just wasn't for me. Like, I was reading 1 page in the amount of time it should have taken me to read 3. I have a Michael Crichton Timeline. 3 stars. Love his writing. It's just, this wasn't easy due to lengthy explanations, scientific terms, and 1300s style dialogue in the second half. It was interesting though, and I did enjoy it. It was combining history and sci-fi was definitely different. We have this one. This is a YA thriller called Slide. 1 star, without a doubt. This book was under-researched, it misused terms, there were plot holes, and if that's not enough, the main character should have died from caffeine abuse every couple of pages. My non-fiction pick is Scar Tissue. I started this in the final week of December, and I did not manage to finish it by the end of the year. I did finish it in the first week of January, though, or the second week of January. I finished it early January, so it counts as a 2023 read. I did start it, though. We've got The Girl Before. 3 out of 5 stars. Tell me you hate women without telling me you hate women is basically what I'm getting from this author. We have The Picture of Dorian Gray. This was also a DNF for me. Unfortunately, books that are almost entirely written as a conversation are not something that suits me. There was a lot of dragging on and not much advancement of the plot. So I let it go. Which was a shame, because this was one that I have been intrigued by, and I know quite a few people that do love it. And I do want to know what happens in this book, but I don't want to have to read it. And then we have Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. 4 out of 5 stars. I initially struggled with the format, but I eventually made peace with it. I really enjoyed the emotional roller coaster of a book that this was. It would have me laughing on one page and absolutely bawling my eyes out 2 pages later. And then another 2 pages, I'd be laughing again. Absolutely incredibly beautifully written and poetic writing. I am a sucker for poetic writing. I'm also a sucker for books that make me cry. And this had both of those things. Absolute winner. So while I didn't actually manage to finish every book of my 12 this year, this is the closest I have come to that. Previous years there have been books that I haven't even attempted to read, or there have been some that I've started and gone nowhere, put on hold and forgot about them. This year I at least attempted every single book on my 12. I had 3 DNFs and 1 that I had to change last minute, so I think I did pretty well considering I finished most of them. That's really exciting, and that's a great achievement for me. Like, compared to previous years, this is a lot. So yeah, we'll see how we go with this year's 12. Totally on track.